And we're live.
Awesome. What's up, guys?
How's everybody doing out there? I'm Jamal, co-founder of Creator, and this is.
Alvin Nguyen, what's up?
And today we're just going to be doing a quick session, QA, chat, jam session, if you will. Me and him are good friends. Just kind of talking about the rise of Instagram. This came about because I go to his website periodically just to see what's up with him, and it always says the same thing, coming soon. This is what his website's been coming soon for.
He's been coming for like 2 years.
His website's been coming soon for like 2 years, and I was like, why is that? Is it because you're busy, or is it because Instagram and other platforms have been useful for you to not have to have a website? And I've actually seen it with other top photographers around the world where they now primarily use Instagram, or they use their agent's website or something to that effect. So that kind of kicked this off. So I guess, let's just first talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what it is that having, a website is, it's more like an archive, these days. Is the website is available to people who wants to kind of lay out their stories and be able to, showcase everything they've done, in the past 5 years, 3 years, whatever it is that you want to showcase. But for me, what's most important is my clients kind of don't care about what I have shot. They care about what I'm currently shooting, and they care about what's, live. Like right now, what's happening, where's he at, what is he doing? Instagram stories has really kind of eliminated like Snapchat. Like I used to Snapchat like crazy. I was actually getting jobs on Snapchat, and then, eventually Instagram pulled it back, and now it's Instagram stories. So I think that's, it's a really crazy thing to think about. 5 years ago, you would never think that Instagram would replace, a need for a website. But really right now, like you said, my agent has a website that he keeps up, and I just feed him, content. But my personal content that's available to all my clients and what they care about the most is on Instagram.
And when did that shift kind of happen for you? When did you realize, wait a minute, I don't need to keep my website up?
Well, what happened was this. I had a website built, and as all artists, we rely on other artists to kind of keep us like informed and keep us like inspired, things like that. So one time I met this web developer who was an amazing web developer. He built an incredible site. We worked together. We spent like months, just getting everything together. And then 6 months later, he decided he wasn't going to be a web developer anymore. So I kind of got stranded. And due to that, I got on, Squarespace like everybody else, and kind of started building my own site. And halfway through, I just realized that, all my stuff that's current is on Instagram. And so I just kind of put that up there thinking that I would complete the website one day, which I probably should. But at the same time, I'm like, not really that important right now. And I've never had a client since the last, almost 2 years now. I've never had a client that ask for a website. They look at Instagram and they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna hire you.
Yeah, for sure. And you have also a big audience on Instagram too. So it's not like you have a couple hundred followers on Instagram. You have 300,000 and growing followers on Instagram. Was that also a factor in why you decided to kind of push your content there? I know photographers who their Instagram is updated all the time. Their website's updated like every couple months.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, what it is that, when we met, Instagram was just like barely starting out. And I think that at that time, I made a very conscious decision that this is, where I was headed, and this is what I wanted to pursue. And I wanted to grow that content. And there were ups and downs. It's really hard to build that much of a following over, even 5-6 years. But I think I've just kept myself really focused on it. I shot with people that were really good, but also people that were popular. I think there has to be a balance. Like you can't just shoot with people because, oh, this girl has 5 million followers, I should shoot her. No, you should shoot with the girl that has a following, maybe even just a couple 100,000, but that you really enjoy working with. And I think that's the key. You can't, you can't fake those, inspirational, collaborations. You have to actually be inspired to collaborate with that person. And I also collaborate with a lot of people that doesn't have any following at all because I just love their work. So I think it has to be a balance of trying to grow your Instagram account, your social media account with quality and, with a strategy. So.
And as far as you being able to get gigs from the platform, talk about that. Are you getting a lot more from the agent website, or are you gonna is a lot of activity coming from Instagram, like seriously?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was such an incredible, opportunity to be signed with my agency. I think my agent, George Perez, he's, an incredible, marketer. He really knows, not only does he know what people want, he also knows people, period. He just socializes. I mean, he takes social media, but, for him, it's in real life, which is, in my opinion, even harder. I mean, I think a lot of people hide behind social media. And even though I am considered an influencer, I don't consider myself, solely a social media person. I consider myself, someone who's actually social, who actually goes out there and meet with people. And that's, to me, the most important aspect of it all. Just because I have a following on Instagram doesn't mean that I don't advocate, go out there, meet people, sit at a cafe, engage in conversations with other artists, because you never know how that conversation is going to land you your next gig, or how it's going to change the way you shoot, which then lands you your next gig. So, and to focus more back onto your question, I'm getting right now about, I would say, 35% of work from my personal relationship with people, and 50% via Instagram, and then the rest via my agency. However, even though it seems like my agency is getting me, not a lot of work in that, divide, they get me way better work in terms of bigger jobs on more frequent, basis. So I think it all depends on what you want to do, and ultimately you are your best agent, so you will make more money by selling yourself. I want to take this opportunity to kind of talk about the agency aspect of it, if you will, because a lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, can I, what can I do to get signed, and how is that going to affect, will I make a killing by being signed?" And that's not necessarily true. A signed photographer, unless you're, have been doing it for 30 years and you have your own clientele, a signed photographer doesn't necessarily mean a working photographer. You have to engage your audience. You have to engage the people you work with to get more jobs. So I highly suggest going out there, going to events, meeting people, going to as many events as you can at first to really see who's out there. Even if it's the other photographer that's also trying to get a job, you should meet with them. You should talk to them. You should become allies. You should engage in conversations and be inspired by one another. I know photographers don't usually like each other, so that's it's hard to get us all together in one room. But I definitely think that it's important for people to go out there and actually engage in conversations.
So you mentioned 50% of your gigs from Instagram. That seems irrational and amazingly high. And so are they seeing your hashtags? Are they just scrolling through the feed? How does that actually work? So
in order to get gigs on Instagram, right, you have to post content that is relevant. This is where I struggle with a lot, because Instagram is its own market, right? It's hard to say that I've booked, an L shoot from Instagram. That's not true. Although that has happened, it's not. I have booked an L editorial via Instagram, but it's not the norm. the norm is that on Instagram, I'm booking commercial jobs. I booked an Absolute Vodka commercial. I booked, you know, a shoe campaign. I booked things that are a little bit more toned down and less fashion. You know, and as you know, Jamal, like when I started out, it was all fashion, like all editorial, high-end stuff, and that was what I loved. But what I learned to do as an artist is to not always be so tied down into what it is that I love, because ultimately what I love isn't what everybody loves. And even if they do love it, they don't necessarily think that they can sell it. So you have to have that balance of like, on Instagram, if you're trying to drive that market, if your sole purpose is to book jobs on Instagram, I would highly recommend you going out there and, you know, posting things that your audience like. In LA, a lot of people love swimwear. They love, you know, skater type stuff, denim wear, and those are what I've catered my my work to. And I really enjoy those. They're not the high fashion stuff that I used to do, but at the same time, they make way more of a paycheck, and they also is more fun for me at this point in time. I get to really like go out there to all these crazy locations and just shoot things that are a lot more, to me, like relatable. So that's what I would suggest to people who wants to book more jobs on Instagram. Shoot stuff that's relevant to your audience.
So if anybody's watching, I'm gonna phrase that. There are a lot of people watching right now, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them or put them in the chat. Same thing, if anybody's watching on Facebook, which there are a bunch of people watching on Facebook as well, as I can see, feel free to post questions. It seems like everybody's kind of sitting back and just breathing in the goodness that Alvin is putting down. But if you guys have questions, this is definitely now the time to ask them and post them to get feedback and insights from the man right here. But let's keep going unless we see some questions. You also obviously are director, and that's been a big part of a lot of the gigs that you're getting. How has video worked on Instagram? I mean, all you can really do is post a little 60-minute video versus, say, if you had your own website, you can really go into town and do the whole whiz bang. So
Right.
talk about that.
Well, that's the hard part, right? I mean, we have YouTube, we have Vimeo, we have live streaming. There's all these different ways to absorb content. And I think for a lot of people, what they struggle with is, how the hell do I manage like 10 different platforms on what's hot and what's not? And, you know, my advice is to pick the type of content you're going to make. So let's say you're a photographer / cinematographer, right? I'm a photographer / director. So what I chose to do is to focus solely on 60 seconds or less videos, with the option of, you know, I have to do 2 cuts for every video I do. I have to do one for Instagram, which is, in my opinion, way more important. And I have to do one for YouTube. So I think less is always more. I think as an artist, we always try to showcase more of our work, which understandably is important to us. But you know, I've dreaded like cutting videos, and I'm like, man, this footage is so good. Like, I can't believe I have to cut this out. And I would tell you, more times than not, I've looked back on videos that I've made, and I'm like, man, I should have cut that out. It's just too long. The attention span is so short. I think the perfect video is if you can make an amazing 30 to 45 seconds video that is way more engaging than like a 5 minutes video.
So in this case, you're saying the shortness factor of Instagram actually is a benefit because attention spans are short, and that forces you as a creative to whittle it down to the absolute best moments to really grab somebody's attention, which does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think nobody wants to sit there and like, you know, watch like a 5 minutes video. We don't have that luxury of, you know, time or the attention span. But, you know, I always give my audience the option. Like, if they want to see you know, full video, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, is available. I had one case where, and this is another social media aspect of it. So just as Instagram is the new website, you know, YouTube could be the new website, right? For a lot of YouTubers. And every year I hear somebody say, oh, hey, we have, reach the peak of YouTube. You would never peak YouTube. I mean, YouTube is like always growing, right? So I'm not a YouTuber, but I was at Burning Man and I created this video and I posted it on YouTube, and I had like maybe 3 subscribers. I'm not a YouTube guy. And all of a sudden the video now is at almost 750,000 views. And it was posted onto Google I/O's YouTube Anthem, where they do like, the highlighted YouTube videos of the year. So it's kind of crazy to think about, like, that was my YouTube moment, and now I have that platform to continue to grow that. And, that's always the hardest thing, to struggle to find like, what is the best cut? And the best cut, I think, in my opinion, for people who want to grab attention is 30 to 45 seconds with an optional, longer version on YouTube.
Awesome. Perfect. And I think before we actually, I see a couple of questions here. We have somebody, Tyrone Roberts asks, do you still use a print portfolio to show to new clients?
Oh, great question, Tyrone. Yeah, I mean, I have maintained a print portfolio somewhere in my office. I think I can probably dig it up right here and show you guys, but I don't really use it quite as much as as I used to. Now, for traditional clients, for example, when I had the opportunity to showcase my work to the owner of Guess, Marciano, he really wanted to, he's very traditional. So my advice that I've gotten from his director was, go in with the most classic photographer's portfolio you possibly can have. And, I had to do a lot of research because at the time, even though it was like 2 years ago, nobody knew what a proper portfolio sizes, because it's not a 9x10, 9x11, whatever it is that you think it is. It's not that. It's like a really weird 21x27 portfolio, which I totally didn't know, but I had to really dig that info up. And I printed it on Italian paper. Like, the whole portfolio costed me like $1,500. And it was a custom one just for him. I mean, that one I would never get back, So I think the problem with print portfolios is that they're just too expensive, and you cannot continue to update them as quickly as you can with a website or with even social media. So while it's good to have it, and I would highly recommend people, continue to bring them everywhere you go. If you go to a meeting, have the option of showing your client a print portfolio and a digital portfolio. I use an iPad Pro right now, which happens to be one of my favorite devices for showcasing my work, especially since I do direct as well. So I've catered my portfolio to that crowd, where you can swipe right to see pictures, and then all of a sudden you go into a video from that photo shoot, which engages the audience more, because video right now is, in my opinion, the hottest thing. And really, 5 years ago was starting to, really take off, but now it's the time. I mean, if you're a photographer and you're not shooting video, please do yourself a favor, get a GoPro, get whatever it is, use your own camera that you already have and shoot some video.
All right, we got a couple more questions here. Mackenzie Taylor asks, and this is actually very good because this is getting into the kind of the tactics of it all. Do you post about every project that you do, or only your favorites?
That's a hard question, because I don't know if any of my clients are watching this right now. No, I definitely Instagram live or Instagram story 90% of the projects I do. Now, a lot of the projects I do I'm under non-disclosure agreements where I can't say anything about. I actually have a really cool project coming up that I'm not allowed to say anything about. Their lawyers are probably calling me right now for the fact that I'm even mentioning that I'm doing a secret project. But I think that is definitely, I definitely showcase a lot of my work. And a big portion of it too is that you can't bombard, I've seen photographers do this all the time. They would bombard their audience with like 10 photos of like literally the model's hand was here, and then it was here, and then it was here. And it's like, don't show your audience the same photo 3 times. Don't even show them 5 photos of the same photo shoot. It's just, the attention span is short, and you need to go out there and shoot more. And that way you can create new content instead of showing the same photo 5 times. Sorry guys, I think I have a little technical Jamal at all. 1 second.
Sorry, that was me. Mic was muted.
Oh, there it is.
Make sure the noise, I'm trying to make sure the noise levels aren't popping out from the outside office here. So Wendy Salmon asks, this may be out of left field, but I noticed a lot of photographers live in LA. Did you travel enough to think that this was the place to be that could provide opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I love LA. It's not the only hotspot for photography, but I love LA. I lived in New York for a short time. I lived in, but traveled to Europe last summer for like 4 months. There's a lot of really beautiful places in the world, but I think where your work is the best is where you are the happiest. You know, I love New York. It's so inspirational for me, but at the same time, I love being outdoors, and I love shooting outdoors, and I love being by the ocean. So for me, it was really a hard choice. Like, do I, you know, and at the time, a lot of my friends were like, your work is so New York. You should be in New York. Don't leave. It's like a bad idea. And, you know, I mean, you know, it's easy to look at somebody, you know, 6-7 years into their career versus 2-3 years in their career when I was broke at that time. And I was like, you know what, screw this. If I'm going to be broke, I'm going to be broke on the beach. And that was my decision. It had nothing to do with the fact that I, you know, the people think I had like contacts, or I didn't know barely anybody out here. I was sleeping on couches, and, you know, it's really what you love. And I love photography, and I love the city that I, you know, moved to. So I think you can create opportunities in any city that you're in. I started out in Seattle, you know, where I wasn't really, you know, working actively. There was, it was really hard. In other cities like Seattle, it's a lovely place, but it's really hard to gain traction because there's too many people that's been doing it for 15, 20 years. So they're not really quite as welcoming. Not that they didn't appreciate my work. It was that they can't, you know, abandon a relationship that they've built for 15 years with another photographer, which I completely understand. But the funny thing is, now I'm in LA and I fly back to Seattle to shoot all the time for a couple of big clients up there. So it's interesting how that dynamic works. But my advice is to, you know, pick a city. I mean, don't pick like somewhere in Arkansas where there's no fashion at all, or no clients at all. But pick something in a city that you love. It doesn't matter if it's in Colorado or Vegas or wherever it is. Just make sure it has enough of an opportunity, but don't use, you know, the market as your primary decision-making factor, because you got to be happiest. If you move to Hawaii and Hawaii is your favorite, you know, state, I'm sure you can find fashion work out there. I think there's a lot of work out there that people don't, you know, realize or fail to see. So,
all right. So kind of one of the last things I want to do before we kind of get to wrapping this up is actually.
Wait, Jamal, 1 second. I think I saw some questions under the questions tab here. So.
Yeah. So we answered one of them, but not the other one. Let's from James Harris. Good catch.
Yeah, so thank you for asking, James. Yeah, my breakthrough moment was, you know, I'd garnished around 60,000 followers at that time, and I had the opportunity, and we worked together, you know, for many months to try and secure a shoot with Group. And I really like her look. I thought she was, you know, such an amazing, has an amazing face, and my friends over at Wilhelmina said, and so we're like, okay, let's plan the shoot. And due to her scheduling conflict at the time, I didn't know that she was about to be on Orange Is the New Black. And finally, we locked down a date. and that's when Orange and the New Black came out, and everybody went Ruby Rose crazy. So because of that, having shot with her right at that first week where everything on the news was about Ruby Rose, I was able to get more traction, and I very quickly went from 60K to over 100, and after that, it's a lot easier. So there is a graph, so to speak, of how high you can go and how quickly you can gain your traction. In my experience, the first 20K is really hard, 20, 25, and then after that, it's like 50K. That's like another mark that's hard, and then it gets exponentially harder up until 100. And after 100, for some reason, I don't know if it's the way that Instagram is operating, it seems to get a lot easier from there. And I also know that, not that I'm even near it, but my friends who've had, 1 million followers and up, they say that at 1 million, you can get like around 1,500 followers a day. So you can kind of see how quickly this can add up.
Cool, yeah. So what I want to actually do is to kick this, to kind of end this, I think, would be to actually look at your Instagram. So I'm just going to bring that up right now. Give me a quick second. All right. So there it is. That is Alvin's Instagram. Obviously, it's exactly what you talk about, which is it's lifestyle, it's rich, it's beautiful, it's sunny, it's LA, it's gorgeous, girls, but yet shot well.
Well, I think for this particular segment of this, I want to focus on seeing the way the layout is is set up. So if you look at this, there's a transition of color, right? It's like blue, and then now it's turquoise, and if you keep scrolling down, it goes into more of like a orangey tone, then it's green. So you gotta make sure that when you're posting stuff, you're not posting just random pictures without thinking about how the color flows. I think it's important to note that colors, or even just the flow is so important. I mean, if you're a black and white shooter, you can't just post a bunch of black and white pictures and then like one single color picture. So that's something that you should really like think about when you're working on a.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't think the sound will play, but I just want to show a little bit of just like a video.
Oh man, I love this video. This is the Burning Man Madness video that really got crazy. You guys should watch the full video on YouTube. If you type in Burning Man 2016, you'll see it, or the link's on my Instagram bio. But really quite an experience. And that's the other thing, right? Like if you are creating memories, creating experiences, and you're sharing them, this was not a commissioned job. This was just me hanging out at Burning Man with a bunch of friends. So, and surprisingly, one of the biggest traction pieces, I've gotten calls from news networks and things like that. They see me with the scary face mask because it's a sandstorm. So yeah, record everything, capture everything, take every photo that you're inspired to take, and just don't worry about it. Think of it as just having fun, because if you don't have fun, there's no point. Also, if you take a look at my Instagram account, you'll see aside from the flow, there's also a very strategic placement of the models, right? So, in my opinion, you need to show a variety of models. You need to show a variety of clothing items. You need to showcase models together. You need to show them apart. You need to show guy and girl. Like there's always that diversifying your book is, and Instagram essentially is your book. So diversifying your book is really, really important. I can't stress that enough. A lot of people, just shoot models' faces, and yeah, that's great. But at the same time, that's really easy. If I'm not trying to put down any photographer who shoots only portraits, but get out of your comfort zone and shoot full body. I mean, essentially, to me, when I face that task, right, I was shooting a lot of portraits and I was getting such good results, but I forced myself for 3 months to not shoot any close-ups. I shot full body only for 3 months. Why? Because it's uncomfortable and it's hard and it's really not something I wanted to do. But if you're shooting a product or a lifestyle or clothes, things like that, you need to shoot full body. And that's one area where people get so stuck on. It's just shooting what they're comfortable with.
Totally. So I think, this is kind of a little easy one that to throw up here is, what's your favorite filter? And actually, let's see if we can.
Oh man, favorite filter.
Yeah.
Now, I can't show you guys my secret like color profiles, but I will say that one of the most amazing products that I've used in recent years, and I've used it before many times. Every time I shoot with a big client, they require you to use Phase 1 or Capture One, right? And Capture One is a really complex but fun program once you get into it. Recently, I was bored at home and I was like, what can I do to make it a little different? So I ended up trying to edit an entire photo, obviously except the skin work, but edit everything else in Capture One. And it's pretty awesome. Like Capture One is, I want to show you guys something, but I don't think I can right now. But it definitely opened a new way for me to retouch. Capture One, what's different about Capture One versus like Lightroom or Photoshop is that there's less slider bars and there's more, there's an option for you to use a master 3-ways color wheel. So what that does for you is that you can micro change every little hue, saturation, luminosity, like all of those features that you use in Photoshop is right in front of you, and you can adjust them, beautifully, easily. And it also, for some reason, gives me a much better result. So I started using Capture One. I still use Photoshop, obviously. I still use Bridge to sort my photos. My process is that I put everything into Bridge. So the process is that you do a photo shoot, you go home, you offload your card, you back it up into 2 different drives, right? Because you don't want to lose one and not have a backup. So I would do that first, backup. Then I would bring everything into Bridge. Because Bridge is the fastest, in my opinion, the fastest way to sort through photos. Don't try to do that on Capture One because it's just going to be out of hand. Capture One is for the final step. So you go into Bridge, select your photos, you copy the ones that you want to edit. Like let's say you want to edit 20 pictures. Then you bring it into Capture One, and that's where you can do all the work. You export it out into TIFF or PSD. Then you further work on it on the Photoshop side. So if there's an advice I can give you, if you like colors, you like the way my pictures are turning out, I would highly suggest Capture One. That's, to me, you'll achieve that a lot quicker than anything that Lightroom can offer. Jamal, I think you're cutting out.
Setting off the mic, trying to make sure it's quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks. So it's really cool to just see how Instagram really has become your new jam, and seeing all the different ways you're using it, whether it's posting videos, little short clips. Obviously, you're talking about how Instagram Stories is now the new BTS for you, the new behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then there's also just a portfolio element, which is posting the best and prettiest stuff on your waterfall portfolio. Essentially is just a waterfall of content, which I think is kind of a smart idea. And I guess kind of to end this, what do you see as kind of the next phase for where you're looking to take stuff with social and or other realms of promotion?
Well, I think I'm doing a lot of collaborations with brands that has following, brands that don't have followings, and I have a different approach to them. So I think you have to, with social media, you have to have a marketing plan that works for your client. Like if your client is someone who comes to you and say, hey, I want to push this out on Instagram. I want you to have a strategy for me. You have to build relationship with models that has followings. You have to build relationship with bloggers. You have to build relationship with various brands that can collaborate together. And I think that that is the next step that I want to do. I want to be able to have brands that, you know, don't compete with each other. A denim brand won't compete with like a skateboard brand or a surf, you know, company. So finding ways to integrate different brands, different non-competing brands, and asking them, hey, like, are you open to collaboration with this brand, and be able to, for you as an artist, make more money because you can charge on both sides, but you can also give them a discount because you're not going to have to do 2 shoots. You only have to do 1. So, you know, maybe you take 25% off of each side. You're still going to make 150% of what you would normally make, and you would only have to do 1 shoot. And the brands are saving money from having to book only 1 model. Obviously, they have to pay her a little bit more, but they still would be well under the cost, and they only have to do 1 production. So things like that is very, very crucial when you're planning something, making sure that your client has value, has added value to the project, and also, you know, bringing social media value to their project, saying, hey, I'll do this photo shoot for you, and I would throw in a 30 seconds, you know, Instagram video. And you never know where that's going to lead. That 30 seconds might lead to a full-on video job later, or it could, you know, they can license it for their website or whatever it is. So I'm not one to tell the artists to sell themselves short, but I would say adding more value and charging not 200% of the cost, but maybe 150 is a very happy medium. And also, I think Jamal might have left us.
Nope, I was on. I was giving you
coming
the
back
focus for your final.
Thank
I was
you.
giving you the feature focus for your final.
Look at that. Thank you.
Trying to get the direction, you know, the camera angles in there. Yeah, we're still working on the new functionality. Awesome. So we'll definitely need to get you on again. Maybe the next thing would be to kind of show how you use phase 1 or capture 1, I should say, to like do some cool color stuff. That could be kind of a cool thing. Maybe just take like 15 minutes and just kind of show that. So if everybody's watching, if you look at the creator tab, you'll find Alvin's Instagram profile. If you're not following him, definitely do. You'll also be able to check out that cool YouTube video that he mentioned. I'll actually put the link in the chat once we're done, so you guys can check that out. Any other places we could find you, Alvin, or new projects you have going on? Just kind of promote yourself real quick.
Yeah, I actually started my own fashion line that's going to be coming out next week. We're launching next week. Yeah, it's sorry, man. I mean, as with any company, it's like extra work, and I have multiple businesses right now. So one thing that I would suggest to other photographers is, you know, finding things that you can do as in addition to photography. And that's because you want to diversify yourself, and you want to be able to engage your audience into a business conversation too. A lot of time, the clients don't want just a creator. They want someone who is going to be able to bring business knowledge and marketing knowledge to you know, to the table and discuss that with them. And I also have a cool project shooting in Asia soon. So Jamal, maybe we can do like a stream from Asia. We're going to Bali. It's going to be crazy. I'm working on figuring out how to live stream from my DJI Mavic drone. So there could be some epic things going on in there, and I'll have a nice crew with me in Bali. So we'll be able to stream, and you can actually, maybe we can figure out something where you can see how I'm shooting and things like that as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and I just want to thank everybody for, you know, showing up today, listening to my gibberish. And thank you for having me on, Jamal. I really appreciate it, and you guys are doing a great job. This platform is sick. So
thanks, man. All right, yeah. So everybody watching, definitely follow everything that Alvin does. I know I do every day. I'm always checking up on all the awesome action that he's going, and definitely feel free to watch the replay, and then definitely come back and check out the additional pool streams that we have. We have some on Thursday, Friday, next Monday, etc. So with that, I think it's time to shut it down. Alvin,
All
you're
right.
the man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Did he actually leave?